Hey Axis and Allies players, welcome to episode 9 in my Axis and Allies Clinic series. In this episode I interview Gamerman01. Gamerman is an avid online player of Global 40, Anniversary, and most recently, Axis and Allies Classic, where he's both a player in and the moderator of the Classic League tournament. The reason for this interview is that I have played Classic now for the last 7 to 8 years, both competitively and for fun, with 2 to 5 games going simultaneously against multiple human opponents. And though I've seen several attempts at a Pacific strategy as the Allies, I've not yet seen one that was competitive. That appears to have changed and is the reason for this being posted as a clinic video. To be clear, this video is going to focus on an Axis and Allies Classic strategy that involves the USA committing to the Pacific in what appears to be, at the time of this recording, a competitive manner. As a disclaimer, I'm not yet to the point where I feel I have to reshoot my Axis and Allies Classic series, but this may be the first most important step on the way to doing so. The Gamerman01 also embodies the 3 core principles I feel are needed to make an Axis and Allies player most lethal. First, he plays against many different human opponents. Second, he plays online. And third, he is well versed in more than one version of Axis and Allies. He also happens to be an extremely friendly and easygoing opponent. Finally, given the complexities of reviewing a game that listeners were not involved in and cannot see, I will have overlays of the board state appear during the interview when and where it's relevant. The game file will also be available for download in the description box below. I feel strongly that this particular game between Gamerman and I is a great example of the versatility of Axis and Allies Classic while being played between opponents of equally or nearly equally high experience. Now, the interview ends abruptly, and that's because of a combination of limitations through Zoom and my own inexperience conducting interviews. But we do manage to get through the entire game review, and we're just having discussion about Axis and Allies related topics, so I don't feel that this detracts too much from the content. So without further ado, I present a discussion and dissection of this game and Pacific strategy in Axis and Allies Classic with Gamerman01. Okay, so yes, as I was saying, by now we'll have been properly introduced by the good captain, and I just want to set a couple of ground rules here. I don't really want to spend too much time on going through our backgrounds, not because I don't think that's interesting, but because I think it's been covered by the Crockett interviews. You did one and I did one, so those will both be linked in the description box below if anybody wants to know our histories, our backgrounds, or how we got into it. He did a fine job covering all of that. So as is stated in the intro, we're just gonna we'll start with the primary topic, which will be about this Pacific strategy, which I'm really excited to talk to you about. And then I don't care where we go. So I do have some questions and some notes, and I realize I might have to jump out to go get my notes because I don't have them, but it's okay. We can keep rolling. And one thing I wanted to say that I didn't say in the intro is I wanted to articulate, because I do have a series of questions to ask you. I wanted to articulate the strategy I've seen that I would say is coherent in terms of a Pacific strategy as the USA. It's coherent, but I've never seen it be effective. And I think this is germane because you and Crockett 36 actually mentioned this in the interview. So I don't know if you remember this or if watched it recently, but he mentioned a game in which, and I do remember it, where he did this strategy. So I'll just summarize it and say that the strategy I've seen multiple people do, and Crockett 36 was one of them, is build a strong fleet with 1 or 2 transports at most, and then 2 or 3 ground units, sometimes just 1, as Crockett did, and float it into Wake. And from Wake, you can project out into the Japanese-held islands. Now, the reason you do this is because, in my strong opinion, a better Japanese player will pick up all those troops and move them out for 2 really important reasons. The first is the Japanese player needs those pieces in Asia to fight the war there, and they are constrained by the piece count limitation for infantry. You can only have 15 infantry units occupying 15 different territories. You can have 15 groups, and I think the starting is 12 or 13. So you have to get them off the islands. And so while this strategy is coherent in that the idea is the Americans will go absorb these islands that are basically left undefended unless the Japanese do something about it. It's never been effective, and I will now just bring up the Crockett 36 game as an example. It's fairly easy, in my experience, to spar this off and deal with it on your own terms as the Japanese player. He mentioned in that interview with you that he sank my fleet. That's true, but for a strategy to work for me, it can't just be based off of luck. And what happened in that situation was I set it up for him to win 1 out of 6 times. He attacked at 16% and caught it. And second is it wasn't critical. The game was already past the point of no return. And he might have a different opinion, but Moscow was captured, I think, the next turn at 99%. So the Germans were coming in the other way. I have seen derivations of this that all have those points in common. You know, a very small land force, a very strong navy, and nobody able to connect the dots in that way until now. And Gamerman and I played this game, and the dice were basically a non-issue until about, and but they were at the end, but we'll get to that. For your Pacific strategy, it was a non-issue, and I don't want to get into how I track the dice, but in my strong opinion, there was really it kind of waffled around the median. And yet I'm on the back foot. I'm dying. And why is this happening? I should be winning. So what the heck is going on? And so now, with that as a preface, my first question is, because we'll get to the fun and juicy part, but I do have to ask, because to me, you're an unknown entity in the world of Classic. What were you thinking before you came into the game? Did you plan on doing this strategy? Um, just where are you coming from with this?
No, I did not have this strategy planned. The way I pretty much always play is to respond to the other player. And Pearl Harbor was left alone. And so I had a battleship carrier sub transport in the Pacific, and I didn't feel like I needed that much defensive naval power to defend against Germany.
Okay. So you teed it up off of okay, so right. So the J1, there's no attack on Pearl Harbor, which is I guess, at least until the time of this recording, is my signature move. And I have a whole video on my channel dedicated to that for anybody curious as to why. And so you pulled it out of your pocket then? You've never done. Okay, so I'm going to press you on that. You must have done this in another version.
Well, actually, I'm pretty sure I've done this at least a time or two. I picked up, I came back into Classic for the first time in decades last year, and I guess I sharpened my claws on 5 or 6 players. I had 2 hard games, which was Ragnell and yourself. Um, so I was able to play some in the Pacific with definitely margin of error.
Yeah, okay. All right, so now I think I'll bring myself into this. So the experience from my side, for those that are curious, is Gamerman did at least there's one critical difference. And there was a large force on Wake. There was at least, I think it was 6 infantry was your initial landing. Because one
8, and then I
on
took 2 away. Oh, I'm sorry.
no,
8,
go
and then
ahead.
I took 2.
Okay. Okay, even more. So I've not seen this before. One of the responses the Japanese player has in his bag of tricks, and this was demonstrated with, Jaws on the floor by Ragnall 804, because nobody had thought of this before, is it takes advantage. This is something that takes advantage of a rules oddity. This is rules abuse at its finest. But that strong American force only needs to be attacked by one Japanese submarine for there to be a theoretical landing zone for Japanese fighters. And Ragnall's answer to the uh, Pacific American strategy was, I'm going to ignore all the boats and I'm just going to kill the infantry on wake. And I'm going to do it with suicide fighters. I'm attacking with one submarine. The carrier doesn't move in the combat movement phase, and the fighters just go straight at the infantry. And he hucks, I've seen him do it before. I think he did it to Martin or Elche, one of the Germans in our league, and he defanged him at a high price, but it's two turns. They have to turn around and go back because now the Japanese can just ignore this thing. And all this to say, the difference between the coherent but ineffective strategy I saw and yours at the beating heart of it was there's lots of guys on Wake. So that's not on the table. And there's too many defenses, so it can't be ignored. Wake now has enough infantry to threaten Japan itself. So I have to worry about capital defense, which I never had to do with the other strategy. It's just a completely different. I mean, I just started looking at the other options. He can land in Manchuria if he wants to. And I think the biggest shock to me was that right there was I'm usually tap dancing in the street when I see someone go Pacific, and now I can't. And this is where I got to roll in the second component, which is as critical, is the mass armor build by Russia. Another strategy where I'm really happy to see players do it. So Gamerman, just to be on the other side of, again, explaining this from the other side, was to be smothered by Russian tanks as Japan confines them to as in the Asian mainland where they're not able to produce enough IPCs. So I got the Americans on one side, I got the Russians on the other, and they're coming at me straight out of the gate, like USA 2 or 3, you're already in there, you're reinforcing Australia. And just so I might edit this little part out, but I'm going to have screenshots so people can see what you did and how I responded. Um, and so I have to ask that too. Are you able to perceive, or did you perceive that you were inflicting that on me? I'm going to suffocate him with IPCs. I don't care about these. If I'm losing armor as Russia, the fact is I'm suffocating him. Was that something that you consciously brought into play?
Well, I'll make an excuse first that we started in mid-October,
Oh,
5 months ago.
yeah, that's true.
But I think again, I'm not very experienced with Classic, but I have tons with Anniversary and
Yeah,
G40, as I told you offline. And so I'm looking to keep Japan, well, a two front. I don't want Japan going crazy on Africa with no resistance. And I was able to slow down your landings on East Asia
yeah,
because of the American fleet. And I looked before we started talking this evening, and I did force some air and naval buys, even
yeah,
carrier two turns
yeah.
in a row. And so then the Russians can have their way.
Yeah, and none of that I'm happy about. I'm feeling it. I'm reliving it as you're saying it. I was so unhappy to be forced essentially to build this junk, and I did my best to make it meaningful for the mid game. But that second buying a second and third carrier, because now I have to deal with the piece count limitation. And funny thing here is, Gamerman, you know, you have a very nice online presence, but he said, hey,
Thanks.
now we all just have to remember that second, because I got three carriers and there's only two pieces in the game, so you can't actually split the damn things after you buy it. And I'm just like, yes, yes, that's true. Thank you for reminding me. I've made this huge naval build, and it's a hindrance as much as it is necessity. I can't convert this into some mid or end game help. I'm kind of ball and chained my tub to these carriers. So that was a first. And so Yeah, from my experience, it's how I mean, you said a key phrase in the Crockett interview I liked, which is how am I not winning? And I'm looking at the dice report and I cannot blame the dice. I can't blame the dice. Every all experience tells me I should be kind of walking away with a W here, and I know I'm losing. I can see the TUV, I can see the board economy, and what plays do I have? And for me, this is the great part of playing somebody who is as good or better than you, to be forced into a position where I have to find some out. And what I know about tech, or what I had theorized about tech, was that it favors the Pacific. And so super subs and jets, which are normally a joke or not as powerful, at least, as industrial tech heavy bombers and arguably long range aircraft, now become more interesting. And so every turn after turn four, I was, which I hate to admit, I was considering throwing tech just because I can't get this guy off my back. And so every turn I'm like, well, if I rolled super subs, what would I get? If I roll, how would I use it? If I rolled jet fighters, how would I use it? If I rolled long range aircraft, how would I use it? And that led to a battle on turn 10 where I lucked out, caught heavy long range aircraft, and then we had an engagement off of New Guinea. And that went my way. And that's where the dice started to break my way. So I'm going to pin it there because what you do next is really interesting to me. But I just want to see, just catch you up in the game. Do you have any comments up to this point in the game?
Yes, I'm interested that you said round four because that is about where I thought I knew I had the game.
Wow. 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 Yeah. Okay. That's really interesting. So we're both reading the same tea leaves. Yeah. Okay. So we both
Right.
came up with the same out resolution. And so, okay, here's a question I have to ask you. Was because I'm considering tech every turn and which one I would get, how I would use it if I would roll it. And the thing that scared hell out of me was, oh my God, he might be doing the same thing I'm doing. Like, because he's got just, it doesn't, it's not a, like super subs and jets only favor Japanese in the Pacific. He could do it too. So a question, did you consider rolling tech at any point in this strategy at turn four or before turn 10?
Actually, Ryan, I did not want to roll tech first because I didn't want to be told that I won by luck.
Oh, interesting. Okay. I can empathize with that. It's actually only until last year where Ragnell 804 has demonstrated to me the usefulness of proactive tech rolls. Otherwise, I would default and sit on a winning hand. I think you and I both interpreted you at this point in the game as having the winning hand, so it was easier for me to roll it. But I have to say it was much earlier than I otherwise would have. I usually like to roll for tech when this is basically the point of no return. So I can probably survive 3 turns before it's completely kaput. And so I'll do 3 turns of max tech. But Ragnell, and this is a whole nother podcast or whatever you want to call this, but it made me more comfortable with it. This probably is a video all in and of itself, but I knew I could roll about, I think it was 9 or 10 dice when I finally did it. And so your probability
And yeah,
yeah, of rolling one is pretty much assured, and then two is about a coin flip. And so by the time, and then I did hit two, it was super subs and long range aircraft. So that tipped the balance in my favor. Okay, so I think we're good up to this point in the game. This is where we get to the next thing. I'm now I feel like at this point in the game, I'm feeling like the tables have completely turned. Um, and I put it at about 20% chance Gamerman's going to concede, but he didn't. He more shocking, far more shocking than that. That's not shocking. I play towards the keyhole too. You know, if I'm even if I have a 5% chance, I'll play towards that. But um, you pivot. He pivots. I don't know how to address you or our audience, but Gamerman pivots out of the Pacific into Europe and does it competitively. Okay, it takes however many turns to do this thing, but he does it, and there's still a game. It's clearly still on, and the dice effect is in my court. I can't. It's not. I can't even not blame the dice. Now I have the dice are on my side, not to a huge degree, but it's definitely allied favored. And so I was just going to ask, what's going through your head at that point?
I actually thought I was still in a really good position. The fact that you rolled 10 tech dice, again, playing you as a very experienced classic player, I knew that no matter what happened after that you had admitted defeat. And
Oh,
so I felt really good about that.
okay. That's interesting. Um, okay. There's so much I want to say to that. That I don't want to get wires crossed. People who follow this channel probably know this already. I do think Classic is the only version of Axis and Allies that got tech right. Um, because yeah, I feel like I used to think that way too. But if you play, I feel like if you play long enough, and this is just an opinion, um, you can come to a point where you realize you are playing on the tech tree whether you like it or not, and that is that a person or a player or a country in Classic can always convert his IPCs to a percentage on the tech chart. You have a percentage of getting one or more breakthroughs at any given time, and the Japanese usually can get up to 50, so it's 10 dice, and so you learn those odds. And then the Allies have to, well, in my opinion, it's sort of split between the USA and UK. The Russians should never be rolling for tech, or at least up to this point, I've never seen any reason to do that. But okay, granted, yes, I was forced to roll for tech, but I knew the odds were not insane. And also, I feel like this is a point where you are paying respect to the other player. It's me signaling to you, well done. I'm forced to roll for tech. Yes, I will grant that. Um, Stay connected. I don't know what this is. Okay. Um, so yeah, we play for, and I'm just going off of memory, then the notes aren't here. I think we almost immediately after that is, after the battle around New Guinea is a battle in Carelia. And this was another, again, there's almost like a intimacy that's a communication over the board. Gamerman gives me a this is why it's this you'll have to square this circle for me. If you felt that you were still in a really strong position, why did you give me 80%? I understand you had even total unit value. So just for anybody who doesn't understand, I'll have a screenshot up of this thing. Um, the Germans could hit Karelia at, I think it was 87%. But Gamerman, the reason he can do that and get away with it is the TUV is a swap. In other words, it's high risk for me to engage in this battle because the TUV can go either way. Anybody gets warm or cold dice, and it's a coin flip. So if you, so explain yourself in the most friendly manner.
Sure. I had, let me fact check myself, but I remember
Yep.
having a pretty substantial force back in Moscow. And so I was somewhat inviting it because I could have easily made it impossible. I felt that, now I'm not nearly as experienced as you, but I felt that attacking Karelia was also a desperation move for you.
Yeah.
And the reason is when you put your odds of attacking Carelia together with the odds of my counterattack, I had a very good chance of taking Carelia back. And when you said you got 6 extra hits in the first
Yeah.
round, I was kind of sick,
Yeah.
because you were able to take the AA gun away, and I think the chance of that was very low because
Yes.
Russia and the UK should have been able to take it back right away.
Yeah.
And then I thought the German army would be
Yeah.
horribly weakened.
Yeah.
And when you won Carelia and I couldn't take it back, that was huge.
Yes. And the way I track dice, that's what it told me. So at this point in the game, Gamerman suffers a catastrophic dice result. It really is a capital C catastrophic. Okay, so yeah, this is a catastrophic dice result. in that it just blows out in my favor. And that was where now I'm really surprised he's still going on, but or he's still hanging in there. But okay, just to back up here, that was never, I was very aware of Gamerman's potential for recapturing Carelia. I never wanted it. It was, in fact, I was scared to do this because one of the scary things about strafes is you get stuck in the territory you wanted to strafe. But again, I understood all of this, and this is me again, just over the board tipping my hat. This guy's that good, and I wouldn't normally do this in any other game, but I'm forced to. And again, as you guys mentioned in the Crockett interview, that advantage, the attacker advantage, I guess I can always pull back if this goes bottoms up, but here goes nothing. And then it was just like, oh man, this guy didn't deserve that. Okay, so now we're up to round um 10, 11, I think. And now I'm still vexed. Now the dice are way over in my favor. Like the dice effect is positive. I'll have a video explaining how I track this. This is for not for you, gamer man, but can be, but for anybody on my channel that wants to understand how I track dice. But it is something like positive 11 or 12, which is pretty bad. I'd like to concede when the number hits about 15 or 20 against a decent opponent. But gamer man carries on, realizes I can't, I didn't expect to take Carelia, so now I'm in this position that's looks great. I don't know how I can lose. I consider Carelia a second capital. I think it's almost as, if not equally important to Moscow. And I've never seen anybody take it and then lose it. It's always just, unless it's just some kind of silly raid. I mean, move in force and actually hold it as I did for many turns and then be booted out. But that is what will eventually happen. Somehow, against the dice, against experience, if we want to grant me that component, I am now in another position where I'm forced to give this guy fifth, like better than even odds. So I give him, and he caught it, his a strafe opportunity. I think this was now towards the end of the game because it was a lot of positional stuff until the to round 15 or 16 or whenever it ended. And the way he did this was he starts stacking up troops in Norway. I can't defend it as the Germans. I call that thing the German island. It's really hard to maintain control of it. And he starts just putting them in, putting them in, putting them in. And he's got plenty of allied forces in Russia, and this is where that early bid against Japan pays off. Japan is choked out. It's still recovering from that early choke out. So I can breathe now as Japan, but it's taking me time to catch my breath. I had all that tov wrapped up in the Navy and Air Force I didn't want. And I just can't get the tires to, I can't get the thing lit to go going. And this culminates in, and you'll correct me where I'm wrong. This culminates in a position where now Gamerman has a strafe opportunity on me. So I was going to see, you don't have to just address these issues. You can take the conversation wherever you want. But my question would then be, when I move the Japanese in to reinforce in Carelia, where's your head at when you bring the Russians at me? Or was it the USA? I think you used one force first and then never mind. You
The
used the
Russians,
Russians. Yeah, you used the Russians and the British
yeah,
were coming in after.
yeah, it was the Russians was a one round strafe. I got good luck there.
Yeah.
Japan had a couple, three long range fighters on there,
Yeah.
and I don't remember, but I had a, well, actually, the Russians getting a good result was bad for me because
Oh.
then Germany got the heck out of there. And so I didn't get to crush Germany's army. If the Russians just did okay, I think you would have left Germany there
Hmm.
and Britain would have hit hard.
Well, this is good. This is good radio because I told my actually Quaspec. I think you've played Quaspec. I
Yeah.
messaged him, if this guy attacks at all, I'm taking the Japanese as casualties and yanking out. I just when I was looking at it because I was like, if he's as intelligent as he's demonstrated he is, he'll probably attack if he thinks that's his bet. Because I measured the TUV and it looked kind of equal. And I was just hoping that, the 3D effect of not being able to see the picture on the wall might confuse you, and it didn't. So I was like, I can't believe I had to give this guy, like, how many times do I have to thump him with the dice and with the tech? And yeah, I concede it all. Like, this is, it's taking everything out of me just to stay in the game. And all the experience I have and the dice, and I still can't bury this guy. And I think he's still winning. So, um, I set that up. Gamerman sees it. He thumps me. He rolls a hot roll, and to me that was just. I would disagree with you. That to me was devastating because the intent was always to lose the Japanese and pull the Germans out. Even rolling average. I could be wrong, and I'll correct myself before I post this video, and there will be some overlay on the screen saying actually it was this, but it was no good. Even average dice would have had me pulling out. So that's what happened. He rolled warm. The dice effect is still in my court, though. I can see. Yes, you had great luck, but it was not as good as mine. It wasn't even half as good. It just pulled it back a little bit. So you need another one of those or two even to just break it back to even from that horrible catastrophic roll from earlier. Okay, so, but I pulled the Germans out of Carelia, and we're coming to the end of the game now, believe it or not. And the British, the Allies step in. So there we have it. I have seen Carelia taken in force, held for multiple turns, and booted out. Ragnall messages me. I can't believe, because he's never seen it either. How have you lost Carelia after holding it for this? Okay, here we go. So I didn't know Zoom had a timeout, but okay. I think we were at the point where you reoccupied Carelia, and I forgot the question I was going to ask. But do you have any comments so far?
Um, you made a good play that I fumbled with Japan taking Russian AA, so I lost two AAs at about the
Okay.
same time,
Okay.
and that stunk.
How do you feel that influenced? Okay, I forgot about that. I do remember it. How do you feel it influenced the? You mean you missed the tub, or did it? Do you feel like it contributed in some critical way?
Yeah, since you took two, well, I could move another into Korea and protect the factory, but I thought the Japanese taking that AA that you would build a factory.
Oh, I see. Actually, I think this might be a good point to, because you said this in the text, it hasn't come up yet. I don't, Gamerman didn't know this about me. I actually don't like to build industries as Japan. That probably needs to be updated on my channel as well. I think I recommend it in my Japanese strategic video, but my thing now is I like Japan as an octopus. I think eight transports, eight legs is a good number. I see. Yeah. And so I'll pass this to you. So Gamerman's this I had never seen. USA one, you might want you can lead me off here. He buys all the AA guns. There's only three available for purchase. If anybody doesn't know, the piece count limit in Axis and Allies Classic is the most missed component of that game. I think most people missed it when we all were kids growing up with it, but it has immense influence. And so, Gamerman, uh, tell everybody what you did.
Sure. Um, in fact, I thought that this was such a major factor that it leveraged me into the lead quickly. Uh, that it still helped me. So I'm able to buy two AAs with America on the first turn. That only costs 10. And on Russia 2, I buy another one. And so I've got all the AA guns before the Axis knows or can stop it since it's a back to back. And so then I know you're not going to build a factory.
Mm.
You could move the AA from Tokyo, but having the knowledge that you will not build a factory uh, helped me because I knew what Japan couldn't do.
Yes, and that's a great point. I'm sorry we missed that at the beginning. Good to get it, but rather than not get it at all. I can't move, as did the Japanese player, my my AA gun, which I'm very used to having in Asia mainland, is now pinned in Tokyo. I can't get it out of there. So, this is sort of an unforeseen consequence. Perhaps you didn't know I don't care for industries anyway, but I do care about my AA gun not being on the Asian mainland. That has huge consequences. And anybody who doesn't think so, their AA guns knocking down your most valuable pieces does have an influence on everybody when they're deciding to attack or not. And if it doesn't, then you're going to suffer the consequences when there's a hot roll from AA or even just a normal roll from AA. This is, I don't want to get off on the low luck component of this, but a few fighters, you attack with three fighters or four fighters, you can lose one on a coin flip, very close to a coin flip. You can lose two in a non-0% chance. If you lose two, you can be mad about it, but if something's more than 1%, then, and which that certainly is, it's hard to be mad about it. And you just lost a lot of combat power, defensive and offensive. So not used to that. And that was another knock-on effect of a coherent and effective Pacific strategy. I'm pinned. I can't build another one. And that opened up a lot of options for the Allies on mainland Asia. So despite all that has happened, I got, I got, so there's a naval battle around New Guinea that goes my way, which I knew it would if I pinned either heavy bombers or long range aircraft, and I lucked out and got the uh, one of the two that I needed on a 10 dice roll. I engage in the Carillion strafe after that wasn't enough and delivered a catastrophic blow. And despite that, and granted, you got some of that back with a hot Russian strafe on Carelia, but despite it wasn't that huge compared to what I had. And despite all this, he's now back in Carelia, and I'm looking at the board and I'm interpreting this. This is my interpretation. He's got more tempo than I do. He's got more opportunities on the board still. And where's mine? If I can't convince myself where I'm going to make gains, then I need to go back to where I'm already winning, which is the tech board. As Japan, I'm still pulling 50 IPCs or near 50, 45 to 50 IPCs, and I've already covered two non-heavy bomber techs. So this greatly narrows or increases the incentive for me to just offensively tech. And that's where I did it. And, you know, I guess that I got favored in terms of the dice. Very shortly after Gamerman retakes Carelia, I interpret the board state this way: throw for tech, and I just nailed everything. I got heavy bombers and industrial tech. I had, and this is intentional. I always make sure Japan has at least two bombers, so if they go heavy, there's something in place. And I sent a raid to San Francisco, Washington, Leningrad, and I think that was it, those three. And one of them gets shot down, the San Francisco bomber. The other two break through and bomb, and that's where the game ends. So, um, did you interpret the board that way too? Because again, I'm throwing tech. Okay, you're nodding your head. Yeah, I'm throwing tech because I think he still has the game. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, because with Carelia taken back, there was no way for a long time that you could mount an attack on it. So Germany was stuffed
Yeah.
again, and Japan was weak in Asia and has a ton of IPCs in fleet.
Yeah. Okay. Um, yeah, that was a heck of a game. And in 6 years, I've not seen anybody. I think there was a unique combination of. I don't know who I'm saying this to. I guess I'm thinking out loud here. I think you played USA like just to run this thing to the end here. I won the game, but I can't go. I can't unsee it. That's what Quaspec would say. Once you see it, you can't unsee it. And I just saw something I can't unsee. So to anybody who's hearing this, and if the video has just been released, I've already told Ragnell, who I consider as well as you, a lethal opponent. I told him I'm doing this to him. I said, I'm coming at you. If I'm the Allies, I'm coming at you like the Gamerman did to me in the Pacific, and I want to see what you do with it. I'm less interested in winning and more interested in finding problems and solutions. I'm equally partial to creating problems as you did, and and then trying to run them against other people to see what they come up with. So that's how I am. That's how I'm at right now. And how do you feel? How do you feel about it? Do you think you would do it again, that Pacific strat?
Ryan, I hate doing the shuck. It's boring. So
Oh, that's
yeah,
right. That's right. You said that offline too. You don't like doing the shuck, it's boring. Well, if it helps, I think you've got a lot of torque under that hood. There's an engine in there. It's as though Gamerman came up to the racetrack and mashed the gas pedal, and every racer's now turned to their heads, whether they know it or not. I think I think you don't need to be bored of the shuck to be competitive. I think there's a there, and part of me thinks you deserved the fat W that you should have got because so you brought a novel concept to a game that I mean, have you ever heard of any? I mean, I don't. I know that your experience with through the Crockett interview. Did you ever see anybody run a Pacific Strat against you if you were the Axis? How about that? That's a good question, maybe. Have you ever seen, or tell me about other versions? Anniversary and Global. Have you ever run a pack strat there or had one run against you?
I never go KJ or KF, K anything F.
Yes.
I like Balanced America. I did buy early transport, men, tanks, and sent planes to the Europe theater early. So I never intended to put all force on Japan. I just wanted to open up a second front and mess with them.
So
Sorry.
no, that's awesome. Because it's makes it more. I couldn't be happier to be so thoroughly pasted. It's almost more. It just makes it better because it's almost as though you did it with one hand behind your back. You don't have the benefit of experience. You just have gumption and I mean that's an interesting motivator. The shuck is boring. For anybody listening to this that doesn't know, if I'm anything, I am a sponge of someone else's good ideas. I come up with some of my own stuff sometimes, but if I have a talent for anything, I can see when something works because it sucked when that guy did it to me. So now I'm going to copy it and, at least do it as good and hopefully better than that guy. And I'm just going to use that until somebody shows me something different. So Gamerman unwittingly or wittingly, it sounds like unwittingly, which just makes it again more awesome. For me, has which uh, I want to be cautious when I say this, but again, anybody listening to this that plays me classic, and I end up being allies. I'm doing this thing until someone shows me how to beat it because I just did it. I'm not a terrible player, and it took me multiple. It I had the battle around New Guinea, a naval battle around New Guinea. I had which was a tech dice victory, not so much a battle victory, although it went warm for me. I had a catastrophic win in Carelia, and um, uh, and then I had that thing at the end. And any one of those against a normal strategy without the dice or with or without the dice against a conventional strategy, to me, again, I'll go back to your quote from the Crockett interview. Why am I not winning? Couldn't be happier because I know now the only answer is the strategy. It's his strategy. There's something going on with that. So thanks for bringing that. Thanks for running this tournament and being in it and being such a proactive player and being super nice through chat, and I actually learned a rules. You rules checked me, which was awesome. I couldn't be. It's just everything I like is just happily. I was happily confused and befuddled on so many different areas in this game. So a lot of learning was done. So that might I might put a dot the I and cross the T on that, and just open it up to anything. What do you think of Classic? What do you think of Classic now?
Thank you, Elshay, for bringing me back to it. He almost begged me. He said, try Classic. When I started learning the rules, not as a teenager, self-taught with no internet, I was pretty fascinated. And then I learned the rest of the rules from you. And when I found out about unit count, that was infatuating. And then we got somebody modded the AAA
Yeah,
module to do unit count. It wasn't perfect, but the tech is crazy, and I remember that from high school. I mean, I'll say I think it's crazy. I think the heavy bombers are to simulate nuclear bombs,
yeah,
and long range aircraft of adding two spaces, I was convinced is too powerful an anniversary. I made it +1 with people. They always
yeah,
agreed.
yeah, yeah.
And so +2, your fighters can go almost anywhere. Your fighters being able to go from France to my East US zone stinks, and bombers can go almost anywhere. But I wanted to play tech like we're doing in this tournament. And I don't care that heavy bombers and industrial tech be at the end. What
Mhm.
I would care about is if we were starting tech at round 3 or 4,
Yes.
is
Yep.
if you rolled one per turn and hit the big stuff.
Hmm.
That's what you don't like.
Yeah.
Um, let's see. I'd like to say a couple things too about America in this game.
Yeah, please.
Besides the AA guns at the beginning, I did spend um, a decent amount of money going at Europe. And so if you guys try a Pacific strat, you're going to have a lot more money going there. If you go all out, you could have a lot more in the Pacific than I did. Um,
Yeah.
Also, I didn't do the shuck. One reason I didn't do the shuck is because I'm not as experienced as you. I knew you guys, you and Ragnell, for example, could probably pull it off like perfectly maximum efficiency. I knew I couldn't. I knew you were used to facing that. And so I felt like I'd come up short there. And when you sunk the fleet at New Guinea, I had 4 transports there and I had at least 4 personnel that I could pick
Yes.
up.
Yep. Yeah. Right. Dead total unit value, without being dead. Yeah. Um,
There is one more thing
yeah.
um, that bugged me. And I don't know if you made a mistake with the calculator, but you made the raid on Australia early with 2 fighters,
Okay. Yeah.
2 battleships, and that was an 83%. And your fighters easily could have died and you failed there and it would have been
Yes.
disastrous.
That's an early tip of the hat to how irritating your strategy I already knew was going to be. I could perceive it,
Mm.
yeah, from the jump. And I know if you don't even have to doubt this because Ragnell and I chat with each other. And I was like, I'm being forced. I just exclaimed to him, I'm being forced to do this. And he's just like, let me look at it. And I'm like, there's nothing else I can do. I can't, I have to do this. I have to do this early. This is ridiculous. He's playing frivolously. I wasn't yet ready to concede. I was just, no, I'm well aware of that. And you're absolutely right. And I appreciate you bringing that up because that was a harbinger for things to come. I thought now certainly, yeah, you know what? I forgot that. That to me is a major point because I won that battle. I didn't lose a fighter, and I ended up capturing the damn place. So that is where I expected your strategy to pop like the balloon. It should have popped like the balloon I've seen pop before. That guy should turn his tail around and go back and do his homework. Like no, no, Crockett's a great guy, but he moved out into the Pacific with one armor unit, right? And so Ragnell showed us all how to easily deflate that. I felt like I had sort of copy pasted Ragnell's response: knock off the ground units. He's down in Australia. His fleet's out of position. That should be the end. And it was not. So anybody who plays Classic competitively, yeah, you're going to get it from me eventually if you don't get it from Gamerman. And I love the point you brought up about the IPCs in the Pacific. There's still more to explore there. It may be ideal what you did, splitting and sending off some IPCs to Germany, but I don't know
Yeah.
if putting it all in the Pacific would make that even more horrific for the Japanese. I feel like I got by the skin of my teeth, and I knew you had put money in AA guns and in Europe, so you weren't putting the whole shebang in the Pacific. And so there's some undiscovered territory there in terms of strategy, what else could be done, and couldn't be more excited to uncover this. I've played this game constantly for 6 years, thought I'd seen everything, and it's like I can see just this range of possibilities that has just been had the pop topped off on it. So the top popped off of it to go in and explore. Um, yeah, and with regards to your comment about tech, it is. I think, and I think we should disagree at some points, and I'm sure we'll disagree about this. And I think that's good because light comes from heat. But I'll just say, actually, I'll ask you this: what do you? Because I feel like tech in Axis and Allies Classic and defending transports that defend at one, those two things going the way of the dodo bird is to me a tragedy. I think that doubling the amount of tech uh, was also a tragedy. There's too many things to, whereas when you only have six in Classic, you can actually kind of account for those, especially heavy bombers is really just an accelerant. And I've had multiple games where both sides have them. And I like to think that that's the ultimate true ending is who has them and when and where and how effective each side is in using them. That's a game ending, an end game state that is truly awesome. But when it comes to there's too many techs, and the defenseless transports makes the long range aircraft, as you so wisely pointed out, super lethal. So I feel like Larry Harris kowtowed to the mob, gave everybody more tech that they thought they wanted but didn't. And then when they made it, they didn't account for or play test out how all this stuff meshes. Um, I'll just close it and then I'll pass this to you by saying you pointed out in the Crockett interview that defending transports can shoot down your heavy bomber. And I'm saying, yeah, as they should. They should have something. We don't have destroyers in Classic, though. So, what do you have any comments on that? Tech and its evolution through the series?
Well, I really don't want my opponent to be able to build $2 men. Um,
That's fair. It's almost as
and
bad as nukes.
if you only had, it was the industrial tech you rolled that I'm not going to play against. The
Oh,
heavy bombers I
wow.
can deal with.
Wow. Ragnell and I have this ongoing, feud about tech. And okay, that's interesting. I hope he will eventually watch this, I think. So, I'd love to get him. I wish I could three-way him in here because he and I think heavy bombers is the worst, but Ragnall thinks industrial tech is a close second. And I was going after him for a long time saying no, long-range aircraft because of as you know, what you so that's I know what you're saying though, because infantry get a 33% off price tag, and that's horrific because they're the most, especially in Classic, there's only two ground units, and so that just becomes a hammer and anvil you can't get out from under. Um, okay, that's actually given me a lot of food for thought. I'll have to take that back to the shop and think about it some more. So it was the
Right.
industrial
Well,
tech.
like when you rolled AA, Leningrad had no defense, and that turned. It was going to after that. and half your bombers got shot down by AA. I mean, half of the two. So another there's a defense against heavy bombers,
You can shoot
but
them
not
down.
against $2 men.
Right. That's true. That's fair. Yes, you can. There's a defense against. All right, you've caught me at a disadvantage here. I have not truly stacked heavy bombers against $2 men, but you saying what you've said here, my brain's going on overdrive, even though I feel like I should be driving this interview, and I'm like, no, I can see where he's going with this, and now my brain's forcing the math into my system as I'm trying to do two things at once here. You probably have a point, and I'm probably going to go back and look at that with your perspective. But what do you think about tech in, because from the Crockett interview you said, and then I'll let you go here. I don't know how you feel about this, but I can talk
I'm
for.
good.
Okay, great. So, in the Crockett interview, um, where was I going with this? With regards to tech, anniversary. I play a lot of anniversary too. I will not play it with tech. I do not like tech and anniversary. Do you like tech and anniversary?
Yes, if you play +1 long range air.
Okay. How Here's my argument for why I don't like tech and anniversary. I buy one token and I just hold it over your head until it falls. So every single turn you have to comprehend what I might do if I'm Germany and I get mechs and the Italians can't open you, that defense of Moscow, you have to, in my opinion, I'll see what you say about this. If the Germans get the mechanized infantry technology and the Italians can't open the Russian front, the Germans now have a direct attack to Moscow that you didn't plan for as the Allied player. So do you do +1 for that too, or you don't worry about that?
I can't comment on that because the last game of anniversary was 2011 for me.
Oh, brother. Okay. Yeah. Well, that's my strat. If you and I ever play Anniversary, and I saw you do this in Classic too. You roll one dice, which I've seen other players do. Totally get it. Um, but I'll tell you,
You can't win if you don't play.
that's right. You can't win if you don't play. But in Anniversary, you buy a $5 tech token. You did not waste your money. It's only a matter of when it falls. So
I
this diff
love the tokens.
Oh God. All right, all right. Nobody's perfect. Nobody's perfect.
Then Italy can get a tech.
Yeah, yeah. All right. What's the other one in there? Jets or do something different that I didn't really like. Oh, the Japanese start out with so many planes, so that one favors the. I feel like there's an imbalance in Anniversary where the tech favor the Axis. There's too many offensive techs, and there's not enough defensive techs. The defensive tech, I think, is AA guns where they hit on two or less, and I'm just kind of like, it's a throwaway. And there's shipyards and industrial tech, and that's great, but everything else is this offensive tech. What do you say to that?
Actually, my question to you, and this is in response to that,
Yeah,
is do you close the Dardanelles? Because I think that's one of the biggest
yeah,
options
yeah,
of the game.
absolutely. Do you?
Um, yes, because Axis attack on
Yeah,
Stalingrad
yeah,
directly
right.
through the Black Sea is horrific.
Yeah, I agree. So, but back to my question, what do you feel? Do you feel like my position is there's too many offensive techs. Offensive techs favor the Axis. The Axis already have the advantage in that game. At any point, do you disagree with any of that?
15 years, no comment. It's been 15 years.
Oh, that's fair. That's a fair point. All right. But didn't they kind of copy that? When was the last time you played G40? Not G40. You played balance mod. So, oh, you don't play with tech though, right? That's an optional rule. Most people don't play with tech.
I switched to out of the box a year or two ago, and I played tech in 2 games in out of the box.
It's fairly similar to Anniversary, no? Tech tokens and
Yes, except the rule is long range air +1, and the map's so much bigger that long range is not that awesome. It's
okay,
still pretty powerful.
okay,
So I'm in a 22 rounder, and we are not playing tokens, and He
Hmm.
got heavy bombers of America. I got super subs of Germany. I got radar of Japan, and he got some other one. Oh, he got war bonds with Russia, and that's just lucky, but that's awesome. They're kind of nation appropriate.
Yeah. All right. Yeah, that's so do you overall like tech or dislike tech? I can't tell yet from you. I think you like it. You'd want to like it.
I love it in Anniversary. I will play it with it every time in Anniversary. Almost never in Global. Um, those are the only two tech games in Global I've played in since it came out in 2012. And Classic, hey, I wish I hadn't played tech with you. I would have won the game.
Okay, yeah.
But I loved playing it.
You know
But in a serious game, you don't want tech to take the game away from you, and you also don't want it to win it for you, really.
I don't think it so my I threw a handful of seeds for your consideration is I don't think it I think classic is uniquely not hindered in any of the ways that tech I think it has a bad rap. I don't think I'll just go back and just repeat what I said before. I think you're playing the tech board whether you want to or not. In fact, I was just having a conversation with Quaspec. I said it might be more helpful if there was a board off to the side of the board that measured each power's ability to secure one tech, maybe even two techs that turn, just in terms of a percentage, because it shows you who has the advantage on the tech board. In other words, like you're playing on it whether you want to or not. And at any point, that guy can convert. I got that warning again. That guy can convert it to an advantage. The other thing is it's not optional in Classic. It never was intended to be. And the last thing is that I wish there was. Larry Harris must have meant this. If there's one question I ever asked that guy to his face, it'll be, "You meant this, right?" And that was heavy bombers to help accelerate and wrap up the game. But it might be industrial tech for you. But either one of those, very lethal. He must have meant that. No, we're not making this thing optional. We're gonna put this thing in there. Um, and even if it's not true, it doesn't matter. I still think it adds value to the game. It adds value in the following way. The losers can still punt. The loser can still punt and go for the Hail Mary. And if and I have been in the position several times where I'm on the other side, where the guy has taken my advice, is losing, starts throwing tech like a madman, eventually gets heavy bombers or industrial tech or both, and I've got three-quarters of the map or two-thirds of the map or whatever. And I have to make this insane decision. Do I start chasing heavy bombers or should I just try to crush them with Tuv? And so no other version, I'm trying to bring you into the fold, young gamer man. My position is that no other version of Axis and Allies can do that. That keeps the thing hot and fun right to the end. Whereas every other version, you get concession. You just have I would just concede it to you. Just be like, okay, he has the economic leverage, and it's what am I going to do? Play this game for 6 more hours, or I'll fight my last cowboy shootout battles here and try to catch something, hopefully get lucky. So anyway, are you converted?
I'm going to amend, no, I'm going to amend my statement on heavy bombers versus industrial tech.
Okay.
Heavy bombers are definitely better because if you bomb all their money, they can't build anything,
Yeah.
no matter what the cost.
All right then. Well, if you keep playing, you'll if this will probably get posted, you'll remember I said this to you, and one day, if not next month, maybe next year, maybe 5 years from now, you'll come back and say, Ryan, I'm with you. That's, I hope so. Anyway, um, yeah. Anyway, I think,
All respect, I'm the baby returning, and you're the seasoned veteran
yeah.
of classic.
No, I appreciate that. Yeah, but if I ever enter in with you on Balanced mod, I think we'll flip the roles will flip. Yeah.
I'm
So
done with balance mod.
are you?
Yeah, I don't like it anymore.
Why not? I thought that was like
Because
God's gift to Axis and allies. Everybody loves balance mod. Get
it
out of here.
was for many years. Um, Couple things. They added too many rules. Um, they made every island worth money, which they
Oh,
don't need to be worth money.
okay.
They're already valuable. They made the Med way too important, adding all kinds of national objectives to the Mediterranean. And then the Chinese pop-up rule with the spawning if Japan
Oh,
doesn't garrison an inland territory. That's fun at first, but there's two things I hate about that. There's at least two. One is that's not a type that's not a rule in any Axis and Allies game, and they knocked down the Yunan NO from 6 to 3, and it kind of needs to be 6.
interesting.
I
I
mean the Burma Road.
I was okay. I was struggling there for a second. Um, how many games did you play before you arrived at this opinion? I
A
imagine you
balance
played.
mod.
Yeah, you must have played quite a bit, right? I mean, even if you didn't, it wouldn't change my. It's fine. I just was curious because
I can actually
I thought it was
go
just
ahead.
everybody loved that. I thought that was like that's like the online community's go to. I think it's like the most played version.
It was for many years. It's cooled off, and the new Path to Victory, bigger map, and some interesting, innovative um, rules like the scramble rules. Uh, but I'm not smart enough to, honestly, I'm not talented enough to play Balance Mod and Path to Victory at the same time
Oh,
because of the scramble rules. I could not go back and forth.
I see.
To your answer your question on Balance Mod games, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13.
Oh my goodness.
This
Yeah,
won't take long.
yeah, no.
17,
I
20,
play about
22,
20 classic games a year, so I'm expecting you to say something in that ballpark.
26, and that is over. It started in 2016,
Yeah, that's still pretty good.
and I stopped in 2024. So over 8 or 9 years.
Yeah,
And
that's good.
at my age,
No.
it's crazy, but years fly by, and a decade or
Yeah.
15 years seems like nothing.
Well, I'm 40. I think you got 10 on me, so we're not that far.
Right.
But yeah, okay. Well, that's interesting. I guess that's the unforeseen consequences of good intentions. They're probably trying to make the game interesting, but in their efforts, perhaps didn't play test it out. I'm sure there's good reasons you feel that way. But
There's another big one. So if you're, I don't know how into G40 you were when it was coming out. They had first edition, they had
yeah,
Alpha 1, Alpha 2, Alpha 3.
yeah, I remember
Larry
Al.
was asking for feedback.
Yeah.
My claim to fame is I got him to come down
You got
on
the
AA
AA
guns from
guns.
6 to 5.
Yeah, good on you.
Yeah.
I think that
And
was you could have gone
um,
down another dollar.
yeah, it would have still been okay. I
Yeah.
like AA guns.
Yeah. I
And then I was gonna say in Alpha 2, they made a plus 12 to Russia or Japan if one attacked the other. So there'd be consequences.
I
And at
see.
some point, they added Mongolia rules to make it tricky. And in the balance mod, they made it even further more complicated. They double 3 different NOs if Japan attacks Russia, or if Russia attacks Japan, then they're never going to get those double NOs. And then they have ways to disrupt those 3 NOs, like in the Persian Gulf, if you have a sub or off of Eastern Russia, and then or off of Norway, your subs can disrupt NOs, and they went a little crazy. They added a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
And once you played a certain version of Axis and Allies for, well, maybe not you, but for about 4 or 5 years, and somebody comes along with a whole nother mod to play, everybody jumps ship because all new strategies to figure out.
I
And
see.
speaking of which, do you have have you ever had access to the Iron Blitz CD
Yes.
of Classic?
Yeah, I got
So
it.
you're familiar with their Cold War scenario?
Yeah, I mildly I know it exists, and I played it a few times when that CD came out. Yeah.
So 25 years ago or
Yeah,
so.
I have the CD in my room still, and I got an emulator to be able to play it. Um, is it worth playing? Are you making a recommendation?
Yeah, yeah, it's really fun. You just have UK and America against Russia,
Yeah.
and all three powers have all techs
Oh, no kidding.
to start with.
I forgot that then.
It's fun. It's fun, but the
Okay,
AI is not going to give you much trouble.
I'm going to do it before the close of this year, if not before. I'm going to try that out based on your recommendation. I will.
Set it up on your board. Yeah,
Oh yeah, we could even I didn't even think of that. I was thinking of using the emulator, but that is probably better to take a look at it on the board.
it's
Wait a minute.
pretty awesome, and as I remember, it's pretty balanced.
Is there a piece count limit? It must be because it's operating under second edition.
I think so.
Yeah.
It's just a different setup.
Yeah, right. Okay. Oh, that's even better. Okay, cool. Do
I
you know
think the
anything?
Russians probably. But go ahead,
I was gonna say, do you know who designed it? Was it did anybody
Hasbro or
okay. I'm always curious
no?
to see. I hope it wasn't some dude in his basement who never got it play tested or but if you say it's good, that's
It's
actually good enough for
it
me.
is good,
Okay.
as I recall.
Okay. Well, yeah, all right. No, I'm excited because I do have an East and West go-to for Axis and Allies, and it's or I'm sorry, a Cold War scenario go-to, and it's called East and West by Imp Games. Have you heard of that? It was came
No.